Stop accepting what steals your peace. Most of the wounds you carry were not born in you, they were handed over by others. Criticisms disguised as advice, expectations you never asked for, others' guilt you carried for fear of disappointing. If you don't learn to say, "I don't accept this," you will continue to be a prisoner of words and attitudes that don't deserve space in your life. Stoicism makes it clear, you can't control what others think or do, but you can decide what you let into your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing external can harm you unless you open the door to it. That's the power we forget to exercise when we allow others' opinions to dictate our worth. We live surrounded by voices trying to mold us, relatives imposing their expectations, acquaintances criticizing without building, people confusing support with control. Every time you give in to these voices, you give away a piece of your freedom. It's not about becoming insensitive, but about learning to recognize what you should not accept, even if it comes from someone close. This video is not a consolation, it's a wake-up call. There are 10 things you should never accept from anyone if you want to keep your dignity intact, from destructive criticism to the demand for perfection. It's not about isolating yourself, but about setting firm boundaries, learning to filter what comes in to protect your mind and character. Change doesn't depend on others treating you better. It depends on you, on stopping giving up your peace, on stopping living under others' expectations. True strength lies in those who remain masters of themselves, even amidst external pressures. That's what you'll learn here, to shield your inner freedom and to stop accepting what should never have had space in your life. 1. Reject the criticism that destroys. Criticism has two faces. One challenges you to improve, the other only seeks to break you. The problem is that out of habit or for fear of appearing arrogant, we usually accept both as if they were worth the same. That's the mistake that Stoicism warns you not to make. Not all criticism deserves to enter your mind, let alone stay there. There are people who opine without thinking, throwing comments that cut more than a knife, and there are others who criticize with the intention of diminishing you to feel superior. If you don't learn to distinguish between constructive observation and one that only seeks to sink you, you'll end up carrying emotional garbage that doesn't belong to you. A hurtful comment, when you let it in without questioning it, becomes a constant echo that undermines your self-esteem from within. Seneca said that no one can hurt you without your consent. This is not a pretty phrase, it's a practical instruction. When someone throws words that seek to devalue you, you have the choice not to adopt them as truths. What you don't accept can't define you. But here's the challenge. The human mind tends to remember negative words more than positive ones. That's why you need to train yourself to filter. Rejecting destructive criticism doesn't mean becoming deaf to advice. It means learning to listen with judgment. Ask yourself, who is speaking? With what intention do they do it? But is there something useful behind their words or just poison? A criticism that offers you a concrete direction to grow is a gift, even if it hurts. The one that seeks to humiliate you doesn't even deserve your anger. It only deserves to be discarded. Think about this. Accepting unfair criticisms is like letting someone hand you stones to carry in your pocket all day. No matter how strong you are, sooner or later they will weigh you down and slow you down. Each stone is a comment that you didn't filter, a judgment that you assumed as your own. The Stoic doesn't carry what doesn't belong to him. He understands that other people's words speak more about who pronounces them than who receives them. If you want to practice it in your daily life, start with something simple. The next time you receive a comment that tries to belittle you, take a pause before reacting. Breathe and ask yourself if that opinion helps you improve in something real. If the answer is no, don't take it. You don't even need to respond. Silence is a powerful boundary. Strength is not in silencing the pain of criticism, but in refusing to give them power over your mood. When you decide to filter what you hear, you regain your dignity. And that's one of the greatest freedoms that Stoicism teaches, that no one has the authority to define your value more than you yourself. 2. Break the chains of expectations. Nothing weighs as much as living under the script that others have written for you. Other people's expectations are like invisible threads that, if you don't cut them, end up moving every decision you make. The family that expects you to follow their path, the friends who think they know what is best for you, the society that dictates what success should look like. If you try to fulfill them all, you will end up losing yourself in the process. Stoicism teaches that true freedom begins when you stop living to please others. Epictetus said that whoever seeks to please everyone becomes a slave to their opinions. And that slavery is silent. It does not make noise, but it drains your energy and destroys your authenticity. Every time you give in to someone's expectations, you give away a piece of your life in exchange for an approval that is never enough. Breaking these chains does not mean becoming a rebel out of pride, but learning to choose what is truly aligned with your values. Ask yourself, is this goal mine, or is it a reflection of what someone else wants for me? If it's not yours, why are you still carrying it? Other people's expectations often present themselves as advice, but many times they are projections of frustrations or fears that do not belong to you. When you allow external expectations to govern your steps, you end up living in a constant state of dissatisfaction. Even if you fulfill what others expected, you will feel that it is not enough because it did not come from your own desire. Life becomes an endless pursuit, a race in which you never cross the finish line. The Stoic, on the other hand, decides his course and stands firm, even though the voices around question his choice. To practice it, start by setting a clear boundary. Stop justifying every decision you make. You don't need extensive explanations for those who expect you to be different. Your reasons are valid even if others don't understand them. It's also useful to reduce the habit of seeking approval before acting. Every time you postpone a step out of fear of disappointing, you move a little further away from your own path. Imagine that other people's expectations are backpacks that someone else hung on your back without asking for permission. You can walk with them for a while, but they are not yours, and sooner or later the weight will bend your shoulders. To free yourself is to recognize which burdens you did not choose and to let them go with determination. Breaking the chains of expectations is not an act of empty rebellion. It is an act of maturity. It means reclaiming the right to define who you are and where you are going. When you learn to say, "I don't do this for you, I do it for me," you discover a peace that no external approval can buy. That is the silent victory of the Stoic, living without invisible chains. 3. Stop competing with others. Comparison is a slow poison. It starts as an innocent spark when you see someone else's achievements, but soon turns into a fire that consumes your inner peace. Habitually competing with others is one of the most common traps society imposes on us, measuring your worth based on what others achieve. The problem is that this race never ends, because there will always be someone with more, someone who arrived earlier, someone who seems to be going faster. Stoicism teaches that the only legitimate competition is against the version of yourself from yesterday. Marcus Aurelius warned that comparing oneself to others is a waste of time and energy on what you cannot control. Each person has their own battleground, their hidden battles and their rhythms. Wanting to match or surpass what you see from the outside is like trying to run on a track that is not yours. You will end up exhausted and aimless. Constant competition distorts your perception of success. Instead of asking yourself if you are making progress in what truly matters for your life, you begin to measure each step according to the gaze of others. This habit robs the enjoyment of your own achievements, because what you obtain no longer seems sufficient when someone else has something different. It's a subtle form of emotional slavery. Your worth becomes a reflection of comparisons you cannot control. Giving up competing with others does not mean settling for less or losing the desire to improve. It means redirecting your ambition where it makes sense, growing in discipline, strength, and character. Ask yourself if what you are seeking makes you a better person or is just an empty race to prove something to those who don't even matter in your story. The Stoic understands that true progress is not measured in applause or numbers, but in the ability to maintain calm and consistency with their principles. Practicing this in everyday life requires courage. The next time you feel envy or rush to catch up with someone else, stop and examine that emotion. Ask yourself, is this really mine or is it just a reaction to what I see outside? When you identify that it's the latter, let it go. Every minute you spend competing with others is a minute you are not investing in building your own path. Think of a runner who gets distracted looking at those on his side. He loses speed and direction. The same happens in life. The attention you spend observing others' pace is energy you steal from your own progress. The Stoic does not ignore the success of others, but does not make it his compass. To stop competing with others is a declaration of independence. It's deciding that your worth does not depend on surpassing anyone, but on living in congruence with what you value. Only then will each achievement, no matter how small it seems, have a real and lasting meaning. 4. Don't rely on conditional support. Few things are as draining as living in expectation of the backing of people who only support you when you act according to their expectations. That kind of support is not genuine, it's a bargaining chip. They offer you words of encouragement as long as you follow the path they approved. But they withdraw their hand as soon as you decide to move towards where they don't understand or don't want you to go. If you base your determination on that kind of support, you become a prisoner of other people's wills. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from within. Seneca claimed that the man who depends on others to stand firm is lost as soon as those others step aside. The problem with conditional support is that it is never stable. It changes with the interests, moods, and limitations of those who give it. It's like building a house on sand. A change in the weather is all it takes for everything to collapse. When you depend on the support of others to move, you give someone else the power to slow down or speed up your life. It's a silent surrender of your autonomy. Many dreams have been left halfway, not for lack of talent, but for fear of losing the approval of those from whom they expected support. The Stoic understands that support is valuable, but not essential. He is grateful when he has it, but he does not stop when it is lacking. Learning not to depend on conditional support involves recognizing that not everyone will understand your vision, and that's okay. You don't need to convince everyone that your path is worth it in order to keep moving forward. Those who truly appreciate you will not put conditions on their support, and those who do reveal that their interest is not in your well-being, but in maintaining their influence over you. In everyday life, this translates into small daily decisions. Don't postpone a project just because you don't receive the enthusiasm you expected. Don't change a personal goal for fear of disappointing someone. Don't abandon your purpose because others don't applaud. Acting firmly even when you walk without applause is an exercise in Stoic strength. Think of a sailor who decides his course according to the winds of applause. He will never reach port because there will always be currents that change direction. So are the opinions of others, variable, inconsistent, and often irrelevant to your destination. Not depending on conditional support does not mean closing yourself off to advice or sincere affection. It means learning to move forward even when the environment does not propel you. The greatest security comes from trusting in your own judgment and in consistency with your principles. When you stop living at the mercy of others' support, you discover that the true strength was always in you, waiting for you to stop asking for permission to use it. 5. Say no without guilt. Saying no seems simple, but for many it's almost an act of betrayal. We were taught to please, to avoid conflicts, to give in so as not to seem selfish. Unknowingly, we spend years accepting commitments we don't want, tolerating behaviors that wear us down, and saying yes when inside we scream enough. The price of this habit is high. You lose time, energy, and above all, respect for yourself. Stoicism considers that saying no when necessary is not coldness, but an act of justice with yourself. Epictetus taught that we should not sacrifice our tranquility to adjust to the desires of others. Every time you say yes to something that goes against your principles, you say no to your own peace. It's an unfair exchange that only feeds silent resentment. The guilt we feel when refusing does not come from the decision, but from the belief that we are obliged to please. Many people use this guilt as a manipulation tool. They imply that you disappoint them, that you are ungrateful or selfish. The Stoic recognizes this emotional trap and does not allow it to divert him from what is right. You don't have to justify a limit that protects your well-being. Saying no firmly does not mean doing it aggressively. It means speaking clearly and without unnecessary excuses. An honest no, said with respect, is more dignified than a forced yes that sooner or later turns into resentment. Every time you refuse something that is not good for you, you strengthen your character and send a clear message. Your time and energy have value. Practicing it in everyday life requires courage at first. Start with small limits. Reject that invitation that you know will exhaust you. Do not respond to messages that only seek to drag you into useless discussions. Stop the habit of accepting favors that you do not wish to return. Over time, you will notice that the world does not collapse when you say no, and that people who really respect you learn to accept it without reproaches. Imagine a pitcher of water that everyone can serve themselves from whenever they want. Sooner or later, it will be empty, and you won't be able to offer even to those who really need it. Saying no is closing the tap to excesses to conserve the essential. Saying no without guilt is regaining authority over your life. It's not selfishness, it's clarity. You choose where to invest your time and energy instead of giving them out of obligation. This freedom to choose who and what you say yes to is one of the foundations of Stoic strength, because only those who know how to deny what weakens them can focus on what makes them grow. 6. Do not carry others' guilt. One of the heaviest burdens you can carry is not your own, but the one that others place on your shoulders. Many times we accept guilt that does not belong to us. Parents who blame their children for their frustrations. Partners who blame each other for their insecurities. Friends who turn their mistakes into your obligation to fix them. If you do not learn to recognize and reject this burden, you will spend your life trying to fix problems that did not originate from you, losing strength to take care of what is under your control. Stoicism teaches that each person is the owner of their actions and their consequences. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that no one can carry your virtue nor you theirs. Each one must face the weight of their own decisions. However, we often fall into the trap of confusing empathy with responsibility. Being empathetic does not mean becoming the deposit of others' guilt. Accepting others' guilt is allowing others to define your identity from their failures. Little by little, you get used to apologizing for things that were never in your hands, and to live with the fear of disappointing those who expect you to solve what they themselves originated. This undermines self-esteem and distorts your sense of internal justice. You start to believe that no matter how much you do, you will always owe something. Rejecting these guilt does not make you insensitive or selfish. It makes you fair. You cannot redeem others' emotional wounds by assuming responsibilities that do not correspond to you. The Stoic acts with compassion when he can help, but never at the cost of sacrificing his integrity to avoid the work that others must do for themselves. In daily life, this principle applies every time you detect that someone is trying to transfer the weight of their decisions to you. The friend who is always late and blames you for not waiting for him. The colleague who fails at his job and points at you for not warning him. The relative who makes you responsible for his unhappiness. The practice consists of establishing an internal limit. This does not belong to me, I will not carry it. A useful exercise is to ask yourself, before accepting that guilt, did I have real control of the situation? If the answer is no, then do not assume the emotional weight. You can offer support, advice, or understanding, but not your peace or your sense of worth. Think of a traveler who, out of courtesy, agrees to carry others' luggage without checking what it contains. Soon he finds himself carrying stones while others walk lightly. That's how others' guilt works. It takes up space, exhausts, and delays your own progress. Freeing yourself from guilt that does not belong to you is to recover space for what you can change: your actions, your reactions, and your growth. It is a sign of respect for yourself, and also a silent lesson for others. Each one must carry their own luggage. 7. Face fear head-on. Fear is like a shadow. The more you retreat to avoid it, the larger it seems. Many people live limited not by their abilities, but by the fears they allowed to grow in silence. The problem is not feeling fear because it's a natural emotion. The problem is handing over the helm of your life to it. Each time you run away from what you fear, you strengthen the chain that binds you. Stoicism teaches that bravery is not about not being afraid, but about acting despite it. Seneca said that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, because fear often paints exaggerated scenarios that rarely occur. As long as you feed them with evasion, they will continue to gain ground. They only lose strength when you decide to look them in the eye. Fear is not an enemy you must destroy. It's a messenger that reveals where your internal limits are. Instead of running away, the Stoic uses it as a compass. If something scares you but is important for your growth, it's a sign that there is a door there you must cross. Each step towards what you feared reduces its power and increases yours. Facing fear does not mean exposing yourself without preparation or acting impulsively. It means stop postponing the decisions you know you must make. It could be the uncomfortable conversation you've been avoiding, the resignation you fear making, the change that postpones your happiness. Fear loses power when you name it and go through it with small but firm steps. In everyday life, a Stoic exercise is to break down fear. Ask yourself, what is the worst that could really happen if you act? Most of the time you will discover that the consequences are not as terrible as your mind drew them. Another useful practice is to accept that you cannot control the outcome, only your action. This acceptance reduces the anxiety that feeds fear. Imagine that fear is a wall painted on a wall. From afar it looks solid, but when you get closer, you discover that it's just an illusion. Many of the barriers you believe are insurmountable are mental projections that fade as soon as you take the first step. The Stoic does not aim to eradicate fear. He transforms it into an ally that indicates where he needs to strengthen. Each time you decide to act despite feeling fear, you strengthen your character, and the next time that fear will have less voice. Facing fear head-on is to claim your right to live with freedom. You stop waiting for the perfect moment that never comes and take control of your story. In the end, you discover that fear was only big while you were looking at it from afar. 8. Renounce perfection. Chasing perfection is like trying to catch the horizon. The more you run towards it, the further it moves away. Many lie exhausted, trying to meet a standard that does not exist. And the worst part is that it is not even their own, but imposed by the gaze of others. Perfection is an illusion that steals time, peace, and authenticity because it always demands more than you can give and never grants satisfaction. Stoicism teaches that virtue does not lie in being flawless, but in moving forward with consistency and coherence. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we are human, made to make mistakes, learn and correct ourselves, not to fit into an unattainable mold. Those who obsess over perfection end up paralyzed by the fear of error, and this paralysis hinders the progress they so desire. Seeking perfection also creates a toxic relationship with others. You believe that you will only be worthy of love, respect, or success if you do not fail. This generates anxiety and mistrust towards the world. You become hard on yourself and critical of others because anything that deviates from the ideal seems unacceptable to you. The Stoic knows that error is part of the process and that true strength lies in getting up again and again. Renouncing perfection does not mean falling into mediocrity or ceasing to aspire to improve. It means accepting your human nature and focusing on real progress. The goal is to move one step further each day, not to walk without blemish. Ask yourself, does this thing I seek to perfect really improve my life, or does it just feed my need for approval? In everyday life, this principle applies when you allow yourself to deliver a project knowing that it is good enough, even if it is not flawless. When you accept your mistakes without harshly punishing yourself. When you recognize that your worth does not depend on how polished everything you do appears. Stoic practice is about prioritizing purpose over appearance. Think of a sculptor who spends his entire life polishing the same stone, convinced that it is not yet ready to be shown. He dies with the work unfinished, not because he lacked talent, but because he never accepted that it was already beautiful in its imperfection. This is how those who enslave themselves to perfection live. They forget to live while trying to impress an invisible judge. The Stoic does not aspire to be perfect, he aspires to be whole. Integrity consists of acting according to your principles, even when you make mistakes, learning with humility and correcting with courage. Renouncing perfection is freeing yourself from a mental prison. It is making room for learning, growth, and inner peace. Because when you stop demanding yourself to be flawless, you discover that the essential, your value, your dignity, your purpose, never depended on meeting an impossible ideal. Only you know that. 9. Appreciate only the essential. Appreciation is a virtue, but appreciating everything without measure can become a trap. We live in a culture that confuses gratitude with conformity and politeness with submission. We are taught to give thanks even for what we did not ask for what hurts us, for what comes with hidden conditions. This habit weakens the inner voice that reminds us that not everything deserves our gratitude. Stoicism teaches that gratitude should be born from reason and not from habit. Marcus Aurelius advised, recognizing the good when it is true and rejecting what does not contribute to virtue or peace of mind. Appreciating only the essential is learning to distinguish between what really enriches your life and what simply seeks to tie you to an emotional debt. Thanking for everything can make you tolerate the intolerable. Toxic relationships disguised as favors, broken promises that you accept with a smile, crumbs of attention that you confuse with genuine care. If you don't know how to filter, you end up confusing gratitude with submission, and your dignity erodes little by little. The Stoic, on the other hand, gives thanks without losing his judgment. He recognizes with appreciation what is valuable, but does not feel obligated by what comes with chains. Practicing it in daily life requires honesty. Be grateful for sincere time, for the word that drives you, for the gesture that is given without expecting a reward. Do not thank what is used to manipulate you or what is delivered with contempt. Learn to say, "I don't need this," when what you receive seeks to buy your silence, loyalty, or obedience. A useful practice is to ask yourself, does what I receive improve my character, my peace, my path? If the answer is no, it does not deserve your gratitude. You can be polite, but you are not obligated to bow to what does not benefit or honor you. True gratitude is selective because it recognizes that what is valuable is not abundant or trivial. Imagine a garden where you thank every seed that falls, even the weeds. Over time, the flowers suffocate. This is what happens when you thank indiscriminately. You give the same value to what nourishes as to what hinders, and you end up surrounded by what should never have stayed. Appreciating only the essential is not being cold. It is being aware that your gratitude is a valuable resource. When offered sincerely, it elevates both the giver and the receiver. When wasted on the harmful, it becomes an invisible chain. The Stoic does not use gratitude as a mask to endure the unfair. He uses it as a beacon that illuminates what truly deserves to stay in his life. Because the essential is not always abundant, but it is enough to keep respect for oneself and others alive. 10. Make patience your strength. In a world that idolizes immediacy, patience seems like an obsolete luxury. We want results today, answers now, changes instantly. This constant rush makes us impatient with others, with time and with ourselves. And what many do not see is that this impatience is the root of much of the anxiety, impulsive decisions, and unnecessary conflicts. Stoicism considers patience not as a weakness, but as one of the greatest forms of strength. Seneca said that time heals what reason does not reach, and that knowing how to wait calmly is a sign of wisdom. Patience is not resignation, it is discipline to maintain calm while acting consistently, without giving in to the frustration caused by the delay of what you desire. Living with patience is understanding that valuable things do not sprout immediately. Character is formed through years of habits. Solid relationships grow with constant care. Significant achievements require repetition and silent effort. When you try to speed up what naturally needs to mature, you end up destroying the process. Impatience is also a way of giving up control. You react to the impulse of the moment instead of acting guided by your values. The patient person, on the other hand, does not get carried away by external urgency, chooses to wait because they trust in their preparation and the natural rhythm of events. This conscious calm becomes a shield against emotional chaos. Practicing patience in everyday life begins by accepting the times of each stage. Not all progress is immediately visible. Sometimes progress occurs silently, like the seed that germinates underground before breaking the surface. It also requires learning to tolerate the discomfort of waiting without seeking destructive distractions or hasty decisions. One way to train it is to recognize that you do not always need to react to everything that happens. Silence and pause before responding allow you to choose wiser words and more effective actions. Every time you decide not to get carried away by urgency, you strengthen your self-control and reduce the mistakes that arise from haste. Imagine an archer who shoots before properly tensioning the string. The arrow is lost in the air. This is how impatience works. You act before you are ready and waste effort. Patience, on the other hand, allows you to wait for the right moment to release the arrow accurately. Making patience your strength does not mean giving up action, but acting at the right time, with clarity and without anxiety. When you learn to wait without giving up, you discover that many battles are won not by speed, but by consistency and the temper to resist. This mastery of time is one of the most silent and powerful victories of the Stoic. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment "I am Stoic" as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.